With the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had indeed.
DeWanna thought she could just walk away from the Indiana Fever and bounce to any team of her choice. Like it was nothing, but the WNBA, yeah, it had other plans, because now one by one teams are turning their backs on her. They saw how she ditched Caitlin Clark and her squad in the middle of the season. And let's just say, they're not impressed. This isn't just rejection, this is instant karma, and it's hitting hard. Bonner gambled on her reputation. She thought she could abandon her team and still walk away with offers lined up, but instead, she's being shut out. No welcome parties, no locker room invites, just silence. And let's be honest, can you really blame the teams? What message does it send when a veteran bails mid-season, leaves one of the league's brightest young stars hanging, and expects a soft landing? Nah, the league isn't having it. And fans, they're watching this fall from grace with popcorn in hand. This isn't about talent, it's about trust. And right now, DeWanna just lost hers. Do you think she deserves to be blacklisted by other teams? Or is this just a harsh lesson in loyalty? Either way, one thing's for sure. This is one of the most brutal cases of instant karma the WNBA's seen in a long time. And honestly, it's kind of satisfying to watch it unfold.
Statement. She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group of young players."
Here's what's happening
Here's what makes this whole situation even more humiliating for DeWanna. She was officially waived by the Indiana Fever, meaning any team in the WNBA had the chance to claim her and pay her full salary. That's right, $200,000 on the table, and still no one bit.
If another team claims her off the waivers, she gets her full salary. She gets her full salary if another team claims her off the waivers.
That's a lot of money.
That kind of money, it's a big deal in the WNBA, and you'd think teams would jump at the chance to sign a veteran with championship pedigree, right? Wrong. Not a single taker.
DeWanna look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
Reports say DeWanna made it crystal clear to every team in the league, except the Phoenix Mercury. Don't even bother trying to sign her. She's acting like she's a prized free agent who gets to call the shots, when in reality, she's looking more and more like damaged goods no one wants. She's basically pulling a Ben Simmons, sitting out and demanding to land on one specific team, completely ignoring the fact that she's still under contract. The audacity is wild. She signed with the Indiana Fever, took the paycheck, soaked up the spotlight, got the perks of playing alongside Caitlin Clark, appeared on Sports Illustrated covers, and played in front of sold-out crowds across the country. But the moment things didn't go her way, she walked out, and now she actually believes she can dictate terms to the entire league about where she'll play next. Unreal.
She wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contract. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish. And she's only going to lose, she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut. Like they literally cap space magicked up. And as soon as cap space magics up for the India or for the Phoenix Mercury.
But here's where things get downright embarrassing for DeWanna. The Phoenix Mercury, the only team she's reportedly willing to play for, aren't even sure they want her anymore. Let that sink in. She burned every bridge in Indiana, walked away mid-season, all in an effort to force her way to Phoenix. And now, even Phoenix is asking, do we really want someone who walks out when things get tough? And honestly, they have a point. The Mercury are rolling right now, winning games with a group of young, hungry role players who fully bought into the system. They're competing with players who want to be there. not ones who abandon ship the moment things don't go their way. Why risk all that chemistry for someone who's just proven she's unreliable? And then there's the business side, the part that makes this whole thing even more of a disaster. If any team had claimed Bonner off waivers, she would have locked in her full salary, $200,000. But because she's insisting on going to Phoenix and nowhere else, she's likely to settle for a prorated vet minimum, somewhere around $80,000. That's a loss of over $100,000, just because she thinks she can dictate the terms after quitting on her team. The fact that not a single other team in the league is willing to pick her up tells you everything you need to know about how she's being viewed right now. Coaches and GMs are watching this play out and thinking, if she bailed on Indiana in the middle of the season, what's to stop her from doing the same thing to us? And in a league with only 144 roster spots, that's a reputation you just can't afford. It's a bad look. Plain and simple. If she really wanted to play for Phoenix so badly, why didn't she sign with them in free agency? Everyone knew they were interested. Everyone knew about her relationship with Alyssa Thomas. Everyone knew Phoenix was the destination, but she chose Indiana. She chose the spotlight. She chose the hype that came with being next to Caitlin Clark, the most talked about player in the game. She got the money, she got the media love, she even got the Sports Illustrated cover. And now that things aren't going her way, she wants to walk out and handpick her next stop? That's not how professional sports work, and it's definitely not how you build trust with teammates or front offices. But maybe the worst part in all this is how it affects Caitlin Clark and the other young players on the Fever. These rookies look to Bonner as a veteran leader, someone who'd guide them through the pressure of being on the league's most scrutinized team. Instead, she showed them that when things get hard, you just leave. That's not leadership, that's abandonment. Clark was genuinely excited to play with her. You could see it in the preseason. She worked hard to build chemistry, to make it work. And now, for one of the first times in her young career, she's been left behind by someone she respected. That has to sting. And honestly, it might explain why Caitlin hasn't looked quite like herself on the court lately. The Jimmy Butler comparisons, they actually make sense. When Butler forced his way out of Philly, people called it selfish, unprofessional. The difference? Jimmy was still a top-tier player when he pulled that move. Bonner is 36. She's clearly declining, yet acting like she's still got the leverage of a superstar. And the Ben Simmons comparison? That fits too, because just like Simmons, Bonner is sitting out and demanding a trade, while still under contract. The key difference here? Ben Simmons was younger, but still viewed as a long-term asset with potential upside. DeWanna Bonner, on the other hand, is in the twilight of her career, and she just sent a message to every front office in the league that she'll walk away when things don't go her way. And that message is costing her big time. What makes it even more baffling is that Bonner's complaints about her role in Indiana, they don't hold up. She was a starter. She was logging major minutes. She had touches. She had opportunities. She was in the heart of the game plan. Sure, the Fever weren't winning as much as expected, but that's not a license to abandon ship mid-season. And now she's reportedly telling teams not to claim her off waivers. That's not strategy, that's entitlement. Bonner seems to think she can control the entire process, dictate her destination, set the terms, and bypass any consequence. Well, here come the consequences. And they're not pretty. Across the league, teams are steering clear like she's carrying a contagious virus. GMS don't want the headache. Coaches don't want the culture risk. Because the truth is clear, if she can quit on Caitlin Clark and the Fever, she can quit on anyone, and that's not the kind of presence you want in your locker room. Even the Phoenix Mercury, he's the one team Bonner wants to join, that are reportedly hesitant. Let that sink in. She blew up her Indiana situation just to get to Phoenix, and even they're unsure if it's worth the baggage. Why would they jeopardize a young, cohesive roster that's buying into the system? For a 36-year-old who just proved she'll bail when things get tough. From both a basketball and a chemistry perspective, the move makes no sense. And don't forget the money. By trying to force her way to Phoenix instead of honoring her contract, Bonner's about to lose tens of thousands of dollars. Instead of collecting her full salary, a guaranteed $200,000, she'll likely settle for a prorated minimum deal, possibly under $100,000. She's essentially slashing her own paycheck in half because she thinks she can dictate terms in a league that thrives on commitment. And the timing? It couldn't be worse. Bonner dipped out just as Caitlin Clark was coming back from injury. just as the team needed a seasoned voice in the locker room, a leader on the floor. Instead of rising to the moment, she created even more chaos. And yet, the media remains mostly silent. No big backlash, no deep dive, because WNBA media has a history of protecting players, even when they make obviously questionable choices. But fans, they see right through it. They know exactly what this is: a veteran walking away from her team for selfish reasons and trying to play puppet master with the rest of the league. The precedent is dangerous. If Bonner can walk away mid-season and still land where she wants without real pushback, what stops the next player from doing the same? What happens to team culture, to loyalty, to long-term building? The damage to Bonner's legacy is already done. Instead of being remembered as a respected veteran who impacted multiple franchises, she's becoming the player who quit on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever when they needed her most. And let's be real, the way she's holding out for one specific team while still under contract, it screams disrespect. To the league, to her teammates, and to the fans who supported her. She's acting like she's above the game, but no one is. And the silence from other veterans, that says it all. Usually when a player gets mistreated, others rally around them. They post, they speak out, they defend their own. But this time, crickets. Because her peers see what fans see. And that's a player who made a selfish move and now wants to escape the fallout without accountability. Teams aren't just worried about signing Bonner. They're worried about the message it sends to the rest of the locker room, and that message is, you can quit and still get your way. What kind of message are you sending if you reward a player for walking out on their team? That's the question every GM and coach is now asking. It's not just about DeWanna Bonner anymore. It's about setting a precedent, and the one being set here is dangerous. If the Phoenix Mercury actually move forward and sign Bonner, they'd have to cut someone else just to make room, disrupting a solid rotation for a player who's already proven she can't be trusted when adversity hits. That's a gamble most teams simply can't afford, especially for a 36-year-old with declining production. This entire saga is quickly becoming a blueprint for how not to handle frustration in your professional career. Instead of communicating, instead of working through it, instead of honoring her contract, Bonner chose the scorched earth route, blow it all up, and try to rebuild in her own image. And now, it's all falling apart. She thought she could game the system, manipulate the narrative, and force her way into the perfect situation. And instead, she's learning the hard way. Actions have consequences. Teams don't want quitters. Coaches don't want drama. GMs won't invest in players who bring instability and risk to the locker room. And let's be honest, Bonner trying to frame this as a basketball decision is laughable. Everyone knows what this is really about. Alyssa Thomas. She wants to be with her girlfriend in Phoenix. That's it. And look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be near someone you care about, but don't lie about it. Don't abandon your team mid-season and pretend it's about touches or minutes. What makes it worse is the timing. Bonner waited until Phoenix cleared enough cap space, and then suddenly she was done with Indiana. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. She took the Fever's spotlight, money, and fan support, and then tried to force her way out the moment Phoenix had room. That's not professionalism, that's manipulation, and in some eyes, it borders on fraud. And let's not forget, now she's willingly sitting out and losing money just to make this move happen. If she really cared about the game, if she was serious about competing, she'd be suiting up for Indiana and doing her job. Instead, she's making this about personal wants over professional responsibility, and that's terrifying for the rest of the league. If Bonner gets away with this, what's to stop other players from doing the same? Why honor contracts at all if walking out gets you exactly where you want to be? The WNBA is still growing. It's still building its credibility and identity. It simply can't afford this kind of chaos from its veterans. Yet some of Bonner's supporters are out here calling it empowerment or a business move. Let's be real. A smart business move means staying professional, handling your problems behind closed doors, and protecting your brand. This question mark. This is an emotional meltdown disguised as strategy, and it's going to cost her millions in future reputation. The wildest part, even the Mercury, the team she's fighting so hard to get to, are reportedly unsure if they even want her anymore. And when the one team you're banking everything on starts second guessing you, that's when you know you've misplayed your hand. Here's the biggest irony of it all. If Bonner Bonner had just been patient, stayed professional, like she likely would have ended up in Phoenix eventually through a normal trade or next free agency cycle. Instead, she's left scorched earth behind and possibly burned bridges with every team in the league. And let's not ignore what this means for the Indiana Fever. They invested in Bonner, promoted her, marketed her, poured resources into making her part of their identity alongside Caitlin Clark, and now she's left them hanging, right when the team needed her most. And now the Indiana Fever are left looking like they got played. They trusted a veteran who bailed the moment things got uncomfortable. And that kind of betrayal doesn't just sting in the moment, it sticks. It makes other free agents think twice before signing. Why join a team that can't even keep its leaders around when the pressure hits? And what about the young core of this team? They're watching all of this unfold, and instead of seeing a seasoned pro demonstrate how to handle adversity with class, they're watching someone cut and run. That's not the example they need. That's not the mentorship they were promised. And let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second. She's the youngest star on the roster, still adjusting to life in the pros, and yet she's carried herself with more poise and professionalism than Bonner ever did in this entire saga. Clark hasn't quit. She hasn't lashed out. She keeps showing up, giving everything she's got for a team that's been thrown into chaos. That's what leadership looks like, and that's what fans remember. As for DeWanna Bonner, the consequences won't end this season. Teams around the league will remember how she handled this moment when her name comes up in future discussions. Why take a risk on someone who might walk away the moment the situation isn't picture perfect? Bonner thought she could run the show. She thought she could quit on her contract, demand her destination, and the league would still line up to sign her. But she's learning the hard way. The WNBA doesn't revolve around her. This isn't some fantasy league where you get to pick your squad after bailing on your old one. This is professional basketball, and reputation matters. DeWanna Bonner really thought she could quit on Caitlin Clark and the Fever and still have teams fighting over her? Well, reality just slapped her with the truth. Because when you burn bridges, don't be surprised when no one's waiting on the other side. Sometimes karma shows up on time. What do you think? Should teams continue to avoid Bonner? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more straight shooting WNBA drama.